Hello again, guys. Paul here with another video for you. I hope you're all keeping well out there. This is part 2 of the Crisis Protocol core set video. In the first video, we had obviously had a look at the stuff that you get inside the box, all the tokens, all the scenery, how it kind of generally works, that kind of thing. We had a good in-depth look as well at the good guys. So this is the second video of that this set, and this will have a look at the bad guys. So in this video we're going to have a look at Ultron, Dr. Ock, Crossbones, the Red Skull, and Baron Zemo. These are the figures that I've painted, so let's have a quick look at some of the characters then, and we will start with the Red Skull. Okay, so here is the first character. This group of characters are part of the Cabal, with the exception of Dr. Ock. So the leader of the Cabal is the Red Skull, which is who we have here. So let's have a quick look at him. So he's quite a cool figure. Obviously, he's holding the Tesseract. I've tried to paint him with a light sourcing. I've not really done it very much before, but I'm quite pleased with the result. He looks pretty cool. There we are. He's quite a tall looking chap as well. Oh, there we are. So that's the Red Skull. So let's have a quick look at his card. So this is the starting side of the Red Skull card. As in the other videos, I'll do the starting side and also the dazed side once he does take a bit of a beating in the game. So the Red Skull, his alter ego is Johann Schmidt. He has a hit value of 6 points. His movement is medium, so pretty standard. He's a human-sized character again, size 2. He has a threat value of 4, which is, once again, quite an expensive threat value. He has a physical defense of 4, a energy defense of 3, and a mystical defense of 3. He has 3 attacks. So the first one is a physical attack, which is just a strike. Range 2, 5 dice get generated to do this attack, and 0 power required. It's a pretty standard one, this. After the attack is resolved, the character gains the power, once again, equal to the damage dealt. And he also has the wild result, will result in a push. Once again, pushing those characters off those objectives. As we said in the first video, the game is all about objectives and controlling them. So any ability you've got that can get those enemies off those tokens, it will make it so much easier to have a successful mission in the game. The second attack is a Cosmic Blast. Good range on it of 4. 5 dice, does require a power. The wild effect on it is Sap Power. Before the damage is dealt, the target character loses 1 power for each wild in the attack roll, and this character gains that power. So he will take it off the target model and give them to himself, which is obviously very good. We then have Unleash the Cube. Now, I've played against the Red Skull. I haven't used him myself yet, and he unleashed the cube a few times at me, and it's not very nice, to be honest. So if you are using the Red Skull, I would probably recommend this. It does require quite a lot of power, but he's got a few tricks to get that extra power. So it has a range of 4. It has 7 dice for this attack, so a really good, strong attack. Requires power 4. As I said, that's a lot of power. So the special rules for this attack is, if the attack deals damage, after it is resolved, this character may throw the target character a short distance. So once again, not only can you move them off the objective, but because you've thrown them, you can throw them into other characters. If you do get a wild as well, you will be able to do a reality warp. After this attack is resolved, the target character and characters within 1 of the target character gain the stun special condition. This character is not affected by reality warp. So how that works is, when you are stunned, as we said in the first video, you cannot have more than 1 power during the power phase. So when you do allocate power to your characters, some characters, as Guardians, Thor at the moment, will get extra power. That is not the case if they're stunned. You'll have to spend an action to recover that stun before you'll be able to regenerate, once again, your power that you're requiring. So he is a leader trait, so he's got the star here, which is for the leader. In the core set, the other leader, as we said in the previous video, was Captain America. His special ability, so the affiliation Cabal. So if they're in the Cabal gang, then they would be able to use this. So each time allied character damages an enemy character with an attack, after the attack has resolved, the attacking character gains an energy. So that's an additional power that you'll be able to give to your guy. He has the Cosmic Cube, so the thing he's holding in his hand. It requires no power, but it has an action. So when you have the word action used actually in the superpower, you actually have to spend one of your 2 actions to do this. It doesn't happen very often on the cards that are available at the moment. So this would basically be one of the 2 actions. So the character gains 3 power, roll 5 dice, and each skull rolled, the character suffers a damage. This superpower can only be used once per turn. So as I said, the Unleashing the Cube is an expensive cost of 4, but when you use the Cosmic Cube ability, you can actually generate those 3 power to knock out that damage to the enemy characters. He is also the Master of the Cube. So requires 3 power to do this. Choose this character or another allied character within 4, range 4, this character, and place it within 2 of its current position. A character can be placed with this superpower only once per turn. So you can basically teleport people around. If you've got some slow moving characters, or if you just want to be helped out in a fight, that kind of thing, that's a really useful item to have. I use it quite a lot, something very similar with Venom. There's a card where you can move Venom around because Venom's not a fast moving character. Well, actually, you can use the Cosmic, you can use the Master of the Cube and pull people around. So it can get you to objectives. And it's just an all-round generally good thing to be able to have that extra movement if needed. And his final thing is Hail Hydra. So it is power of 2. I apologise for my Hail Hydra comment there. When this character is targeted by an attack, it may use this superpower. Choose another allied character within 2, and it becomes the new target of the attack, regardless of range and line of sight. So he can basically put that damage onto another character. It's kind of like a reverse bodyguard. He basically orders them to take the damage. So that is the Red Skull's starting side of his card. We'll have a quick look at the other side once he has become dazed. Okay, so poor old Mr. Red Skull's taken a bit of a beating. He's a bit more flustered now. But to be quite honest with you, there's nothing else really that has changed for this character. So once he has become dazed, he is pretty much the same as before. As we've spoke about in the other videos, sometimes the characters do change. Sometimes they get harder, sometimes they get weaker. In regards to this character, there is no change. So I think all in all, the Red Skull is very good. The Unleash the Cube has happened to me a couple of times before in the past. It's not very pleasant when it hits your characters, and it can cause quite a lot of damage. In a game that I played with Ian, hello Ian, the Hulk literally got done in one turn thanks to a combined Mordock and Red Skull attack. So he's a very good character to use. He is quite pricey for the 4 points, but I think if you were taking a Cabal, he would definitely be required just to give that leadership ability to gain that extra power for your characters. So that is the Red Skull. So what we'll do now is we'll have a quick look at Crossbones. Okay, so here is Mr. Crossbones. He is quite a cool model. Let's have a closer look at him. So he's a bit of a thug, really. He's quite a tanky character. He's posed to obviously be looking like he's running across to punch someone square in the nose. So yeah, actually quite a cool looking chap. So that is the figure for Crossbones. So let's have a quick look at his card. So Crossbones, alter ego is Brock Rumlow. He's got quite a few health points actually. He's got 6 hit points. His movement is short, so he's not the fastest. Human size of 2, and he has a threat of 3, which is pretty average. He has a good physical defense of 4, but he is lacking on the mystic and the energy defense. So his energy and mystic are both 2s. So if he's fighting against an energy weapon or some kind of mystical creatures, he probably will struggle a bit. So he has 2 attacks. So he has a strike, very similar to all the other strikes that we've seen. Range of 2, 5 dice generated to do it, no power cost. And after this attack is resolved, the character gains the power equal to the damage dealt, as we've seen quite a few times. He has Overpower, which is a range of 3, has 5 dice, but requires 2 power to use it. After this attack is resolved, place this character within range 1 of the target. So if you get a wild on it, you will also be able to throw the character. If the character is size 2 or less, before damage is dealt, you can throw it at short range. So that's quite good. So basically what you can do is you can get him within range 3. He'll then have the ability to move closer to the target. So you can literally cover that shorter movement with this kind of tactic for him. And once again, the throw to get those people off the objective. I can't state how important that is to control those objectives and win that game. He's good for that as well. So he's got a few special powers. So he has Haymaker. It has an expensive cost of 4. The next strike or overpower attack by this character adds 3 dice up to the attack roll. So the next strike made by this character this turn adds 3 dice to its attack roll. So just a big booster just to smash that person in the face. Sorry, I didn't kind of get what that was saying at the time. We've got Endure to Pain. So it costs 1 energy to do this, or 1 power, sorry. If the character would suffer damage, it may use this superpower, reduce the amount suffered by 1. So you can just, if he's going to get dazed, you can use that to stop that from happening, keep him in the game for longer. He's also aggressive. After the attack target in this character is resolved, if this character suffered damage, it may advance a short towards the attacking character. So as he's getting hit, he doesn't move very fast, but he has the ability to keep moving. So he can be a bit of an irritant to other players. And what we'll do is we will see what happens once he gets dazed. Okay, so poor old Mr. Crossbones has now been beaten up, and he is now dazed. So pretty much a very similar card to the other side as we'd expect to see. The only variance I can really see is the fact that he's now only got 5 hit points instead of 6. Everything else seems to be the same for this character. So he's kind of like a tanky character, I think. I think he will give you the more movement than it looks like. But for 3 points, I think there are better options to take. But that's Crossbones, so if you like him, then feel free to use him in your draft as such. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to Baron Zemo now, and we'll have a look at his card. Okay, so Baron Zemo is our next card to look at. He is another Cabal member, and he's quite a cool looking model if we have a closer look at him. So there we are. So he's got his sword in a dueling pose, ready to issue a challenge to any unwary heroes that would attempt to attack him. He's got some quite cool features on his base. So let's have a look at his card. So Baron Zemo, he did appear, I think, in the movie Civil War. He was a bit of an instigator of the row between the two factions in that movie. But here he is in his card. So Baron Zemo, his alter ego is Helmut Zemo. He has a hit point of 5. He's a fast character, so movement of long, human size of 2, and a threat of 3. He's got some good defense, actually. So he's average defense for physical energy of 3, but then he has a 4 mystic defense. So once again, another good character to try and get rid of those mystical attacks from those Asgardians and other such creatures that are not out yet. So he has a Sword Strike and a Steel Rush. So we look at Sword Strike first. Range of 2, 5 dice generated for the attack, 0 power to do it. Like most of the other strikes, after this attack is resolved, the character gains the power equal to the damage dealt. And he also causes bleeding. After this attack is resolved, the target character gains the bleed special condition. So the bleeding special condition is quite a good one to put on a character. So they suffer 1 damage at the end of each of its activations. So every turn they take another damage and another damage and another damage. And as you can see, most characters only have 4, 5 or 6 hits. That can make a bit of a difference, to be honest. And then if you can stick a few more hits on them as well, you can take them out. So bleeding is not to be underestimated. Steel Rush. So it is a range of 3. 6 dice to do this, 2 power required. After this attack is resolved, the character may advance medium. So this is quite handy because what you can do is you can attack someone and then you can use the advance to go and get to another character. So that's quite handy, or get to an objective to take the objective for that round. It is quite handy. And once again, it causes bleed if you do get that wild, as with the Sword Strike. So his special abilities are just here. So he has a charge, costs 2 power to do a charge. It is an action. So once again, this will cost 1 of your 2 actions to do it. This character immediately moves. This character immediately makes a move action followed by an attack action. This superpower can only be used once per turn. There's a few characters that are allowed to move and fight. That is a really good tactic in the game. It's basically 2 actions for the price of 1. Obviously, you do have the cost of the power to do it, but it is well worth doing. Once again, it gets you towards the objectives. You can get towards those characters to do more damage, or you can support other models that are struggling slightly. He has Counter Strike, so once again, cost of 2 power. After an attack against this character is resolved, it may use his superpower. If the attacker is within 3, roll 4 dice, deal 1 damage to the attacker for each critical and wild you roll. I've used this before and it is very good. You can daze people and catch them out with this one. He's also a Master Swordsman, power of 2. When it is the target of a physical attack, or it targets a character with a physical attack, this character may use his superpower. If any enemy character is within 2, this character may re-roll all or any number of its attack or defense dice. So that's another good ability to keep him alive, keep him playing the game. And then he is a strategic genius. This character and allied characters within 2 may re-roll 1 dice in their attack or defense rolls. So that's an ability that he is running all the time. So he's quite a good character really for 3. If you're running the Cabal, I'd probably recommend Baron Zemo on that side of the card. And let's have a look at what happens when he gets beaten up and dazed. Okay, so we've got the dazed side of the card. So I'm having a look and there's not much difference, to be honest. So I think it's another one of those cards where when you flip him, he is pretty much the same. So once you've dazed him, Baron Zemo is pretty much the same as before. As I say, I think he's a good character for 3. If I was running a Cabal team, I would definitely have him in it. He's really good. There we are. So that is Baron Zemo. The next character we look at, who is another member of the Cabal, is Ultron. So let's get him ready. Okay, so here is Ultron. Obviously quite a cool looking creature, being a cool robotic body. Quite enjoyed painting Ultron. Let's have a quick look at him now, see if he's any good. So quite a dramatic pose where he's ordering his minions forth to smash apart and destroy, obviously, the Avengers that are stopping him. So yeah, we quite like Ultron. Kind of cool metal sections, and he's got kind of like energy flowing underneath him. So that's Ultron. Let's have a look at his card. So he has a hit value of 6. He moves medium, and he is one of the first characters we've seen that is actually height 3. He has a threat value of 4, so he is quite pricey. And he has a physical defense of 4, an energy defense of 3, and a mystical defense of 4. He has 3 attacks. The first is strike, and his strike's slightly different to others. So after the attack is resolved, the character just gains 1 power. So instead of having to do damage, he just gains 1 power just for doing that attack. Range 2 and 4 dice to do it. He has an energy blast. Once again, an energy attack. Range 4, 5 dice generated for it. No power required to do it. After this attack is resolved, the character gains power equal to the damage dealt. So I think out of the majority of the time, you're probably going to be doing that. It obviously depends on the character you're targeting, if they're better at physical defense or energy defense. But I think that's probably the one I would go to the most. And then he has another physical attack called Metallic Fury. Range of 3, 7 dice for this, and 3 power to do it. So it is quite costly. But anything you're throwing 7 dice at is always good. Before you choose a target, the character may choose whether the attack is physical or energy. So once again, you can adapt that attack to who you're hitting. So if you're dealing with someone who isn't so good at an energy protection, then let's give them a whack with that instead of the physical one. And it also does cause bleeding, as we've spoke about before. So after every activation, that enemy model would take another damage, which is really good. He has Analyze and Annihilate as a superpower, 2 power to do it. During the next attack this character makes this turn, when resolving a critical result, roll an additional dice for each critical on the opposing defense roll. So when your enemies are rolling the crits to help them out, doesn't matter, he can then get some extra dice to kind of upset their day. He has a kinetic field generator, power of 3. You can choose an interactive terrain piece size 3 or less within 3 and throw it medium. So the Daily Bugle, cars, he can throw things of that nature at other models. All will be metal. When defended against mystical attacks, you count each wild result in the defense roll as 2 successes. So it makes him very difficult to target with a mystical attack. Basically because he's a machine and he probably doesn't get confused about things that are playing with his mind. He has flight, so once again he can fly over terrain at the speed of medium instead of being reduced to short, and he's immune to bleed and poison. So he's got quite a bit going on, Ultron, but he is quite pricey at 4 points. He doesn't really do very much for me in regards to objective-based gaming, and obviously that's what this game is. So he's a bit pricey, I think. So let's have a look at what happens when he gets dazed. Okay, so poor Ultron's now become dazed. Once again, another similar card. Main difference is he's just dropped to 5 hit points. He doesn't seem to improve or anything like that. He's just the same, just with one less hit. So I say Ultron for me, 4 points, 4 threat level. It's quite costly. So we just got one more to look at, which is Dr. Ock. Okay, so here we are with Dr. Octopus. Quite a cool figure this one is. I've always liked Dr. Ock from watching these Spider-Man cartoons, so I've quite enjoyed painting him. I like his arms. He's got quite a lot going on. Let's flip him around. He's got a cool kind of backpack that's kind of holding his tentacles in place. So yeah, quite like Dr. Ock, to be honest. He's a funky model. I quite enjoyed painting him. I do like his shades as well. He's got some good shades going on there. So Dr. Octopus, alter alias is Otto Octavius, has 5 hit points, movement of medium, height of 2, even though he looks a bit bigger, he is actually only human size of 2. He has a threat value of 3, so he's about average cost price. He's got a good physical defense of 4, an average energy defense of 3, and a mystical defense, once again a good one, of 4. He has the 2 attacks, the strike attack, which is range 3, so slightly longer because obviously he's got these longer appendages. 4 dice to do it, no power. And like many of the others, he will get power equal to the damage he deals. And he also has a flurry of arms if you can roll a wild. So when making this attack, each wild counts as having 2 successes. So that can really dish out some damage from Dr. Rock. He also has arm lasers built into those. So range of 4, 6 dice, so quite a few dice, but it is quite power heavy at 3. This attack ignores line of sight. Obviously the arms can reach over and that kind of shenanigans. And the defending character does not benefit from cover. So that's actually quite a nasty thing. It's also got a Wild of Pierce. So it changes one of the defending character's criticals, wilds or block results to a blank. So it takes away one of their successful defenses. Okay, so we've got some powers for him. So we've got Ox Clutches, cost of 3 for the power. Choose an interactive terrain feature or an enemy character, both of size 2 or less and within range 3, and throw it short. So you can throw terrain or people around again to cause some more damage. The superpower can be used only once per turn. Obviously, he's a scientist, so he is a scientific hubris. Whenever this character rolls a dice, after the effect is resolved, it gains 1 power if it rolled at least 1 critical. So whenever you're rolling a dice defense or attack for this character, you can get those powers clocked in. So his arm lasers can really start getting used, considering they cost 3. And he's also a wall crawler. So just like Spider-Man, he essentially can fly. So he ignores going only short when he's going up and down scenery. So you can just move at his normal medium. So that's Dr. Rock before he's dazed. And let's see what happens once he gets beat up a bit. Okay, so Dr. Rock has had a punishing session on the battlefield and has now become dazed. Once again, card very similar. Main thing that I can see is that actually he gets a bit more enraged and a bit more tougher. So once he's been defeated and dazed the first time, he then has a hit of 6. But everything else is pretty standard for Doc Ock. He's a cool looking model. I think if I was trying to play a competitive game, I don't know if Doc Ock would be in my choice of 10 characters that you have to then draft from. I don't know, he just feels like he's lacking a bit compared to some of the other 3 threat characters that you can use in the game. So, although I do really like him, he doesn't have any affiliations at the moment. So, he's not in the Cabal. There's no Spider affiliation yet, so people at Venom don't have an affiliation. Spider-Man is an Avenger. Let me check. I think Spider-Man's still an Avenger, so he's still got No, Spider-Man's not even an Avenger, so you can't even take Spider-Man an affiliation yet. So there are a few more expansions coming out which have Spider-Verse characters in them, so I'd imagine there will be an affiliation will come from that. But at the moment, without an affiliation and without any extra bonus, he's kind of a bit bland, and he kind of doesn't really do very much for the game. And I think there are better 3 threat choices out there. So that concludes all the characters. So we will just have a quick look at the models again and round it up. Okay, so that's all of the good guys and bad guys talked through. So you've got the good guys from the core set. You got the bad guys from the core set. In this game, you can take goodies and baddies together. You just have to take the affiliations to do the synergies and get the extra bonus rules. So this set is actually ideal to start playing the game. This can be your 10-man draft team. Obviously, allegiances change in the Marvel universe quite a lot. But what I want you to take away from this is actually it's quite a cool game. There's quite a lot going on. It's got a lot of the blend and enjoyment that you get from the Marvel films, and it's transferred nicely across to the gaming table. So my next video is going to be about the 3 larger models that they released singly after the core set. So that is Venom, the Hulk, and MODOK. So some other characters to boost your Avengers, to boost your Cabal, and another random cool creature in Venom that can really help out your teams. So that's it for this video. Thanks for joining me again, and keep an eye out for the next video, which is going to be, as I say, Mordock, Venom and the Hulk. Take care, guys, and if you fancy the core set, that is what you're looking for. Thank you.